European Union leaders hold emergency talks on the ongoing migrant crisis. In Kenya, a new malaria test shows promise. And when will they ever learn? Genetically modified dinosaurs rampage once again in a new movie trailer. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. The migrant crisis facing Europe is at a critical stage as rescued migrants are arriving in Italy almost daily. European Union leaders are holding an emergency meeting in Brussels Thursday to discuss a range of options, including military action to halt the flow of refugees trying to reach Europe by sea. Ahead of the EU meeting, hundreds of African migrants rescued off the Libyan coast arrived at a Sicilian port in Catania Thursday. They reached the European shore as EU leaders also consider targeting the human traffickers who often pack rickety boats with people fleeing conflict and hardship in Africa, the Middle East and Asia. In Malta, funeral services were held Thursday for some of the 900 migrants who died when their overcrowded boat capsized during their journey from Libya 5 days ago. Late Wednesday, the victims were also remembered during a candlelight vigil.
We came over here as a sign of solidarity, as a sign of respect towards the people who have lost their lives at sea.
A show of solidarity as more migrants rescued at sea arrive at an Italian port in Salerno. Earlier Wednesday, Italy's Prime Minister told lawmakers Europe has to take a more humanitarian-driven approach in handling the migrants.
We want something that is different from a club of technical specialists that know all the principal geopolitical dynamics but forget to give any reply at the moment of pain.
The Italian Prime Minister told Italian lawmakers that the European Union must help shoulder the burden of curbing migrant trafficking in African countries. United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon says he will begin meetings in Rome on Monday on the migrant crisis.
We have agreed that we have a meeting with the Prime Minister Renzi, and on the occasion of my meeting audience with His Holiness Pope on Tuesday, I will discuss also with His Holiness Pope how he and other European leaders and United Nations can work together to address this very serious humanitarian and human rights issue.
The European Union has come under mounting criticism for failing to develop an adequate response to the flow of migrants from Northern Africa, the Middle East and South Asia seeking to escape poverty and war for a more stable life in Europe. Hundreds of South Africans and immigrants took to the streets of Cape Town on Wednesday to protest against the xenophobic violence that is gripping the nation. Protesters from 20 social groups gathered in front of Parliament to protest against violent anti-immigrant attacks and advocate for peace. Violent attacks have occurred mainly in Johannesburg and Durban. Over the past week, at least 6 people have been killed and thousands left homeless. So far, there has been no violent attacks in Western Cape Province. Well, for more on the South African government's efforts to stem the violence, joining us on the phone from Cape Town is Nomaindia Mfeketo. She is South Africa's Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. Deputy Minister, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you very much. Hi, thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Now, the question here is, the government has been accused in the past of being a bit slow in responding to this violence. What would you say?
Not really. Maybe there was no publicity when the government first heard about this and went straight to the communities to try and calm the thing. The media reports only came after, when in fact we were dealing with meeting the stakeholders. But the government was there immediately when we heard about this in Durban and Johannesburg.
Now, Deputy Minister, 2008, the violence flared up. People, in fact, died. Has there been a plan, an initiative or anything to help resolve that issue since then?
There was a plan. There was a plan, Vincent. That's exactly, you remember 2008, it was all over. And now it's Durban that never had that experience and a bit of Johannesburg, Alexandra. Otherwise, the plan, I think the mistake might have been focused on where Western Cape, Northern Cape, Free State, in areas where there was much, much more violence.
Now, Deputy Minister Mfeketo, in terms of how the government is working with the communities, what is being done right now at the community level to make sure you can dissipate this resentment towards foreigners?
You know, our approach, besides the interministerial meeting that goes, meeting all the stakeholders, as well as our missions outside the country, all of us are busy. Today, I spent the whole day in the Western Cape with different Imbizo, talking to the community, urging councillors to convene meetings in their wards and talk to everybody, South Africans and those that make South Africa their home. So all my meetings were full to capacity with both South Africa and some migrant or foreign nationals who are staying in that place.
Now, although we know that this is these are actions of minority South Africans, are you concerned that this may have an impact on the image of South Africa abroad and perhaps on the businesses owned by South Africans in other countries?
Definitely, we are very concerned. We are very concerned, and we're hoping, because you get a situation where even foreign nationals here are speaking out against this and are speaking loudly to say it's not South Africa, it's a small group of people. We are concerned. That is why we are communicating. We're communicating to all our embassies. We're communicating to AU. We're communicating. That's what we are doing. But we're also saying to people, come and see for yourselves. The fact that out of 9 provinces, it's only pockets in KwaZulu-Natal and, Johannesburg. But we are concerned, I must agree.
Well,
and we're humbling ourselves in apologizing for what is happening.
We hope for the very best. Deputy Minister, thank you very much. Nomandia Mfeketo is South Africa's Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. Now going all the way to the Gulf of Aden, U.S. Defense Secretary Ashton Carter says America is certainly concerned a fleet of Iranian ships reportedly heading towards Yemen is carrying weapons for Shia Houthi rebels. Washington has deployed the aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt along with several other U.S. warships to the waters off Yemen, partly in response to the reported Iranian convoy. Iran is believed to be backing the Shia Houthi rebels who have taken over large parts of Yemen. A month-long bombing campaign by the Saudi-led Arab coalition, which ended Tuesday, has killed hundreds and created a humanitarian crisis in Yemen, but has largely failed to drive back the rebels. Saudi Arabia's ambassador to the United States, Adel Al-Jubeir, insisted Wednesday his country had achieved its primary objectives from that bombing.
Under Operation Decisive Storm, the objective was to eliminate the threat that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia faced in the form of ballistic missiles, heavy weapons, and an air force that were controlled by a militia that is radical, that is allied to Iran and Hezbollah. That was the objective.
Well, according to the World Health Organization, 1,080 people have been killed and 4,300 wounded over the past month in Yemen. Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered during the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, could a new test be a game changer in eradicating malaria? Stay with us.
Every song has a different meaning to each person that hears it and interprets it differently. Border Crossings is unique in that it lets the listeners decide what we're playing. But we bring in guests so that our audience has access to some of the biggest names in pop music today. And we reach out to the audience each and every day in different ways.
Welcome back. Joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Mudu with a look at malaria and meningitis. Hello, Lino.
Hello, Vincent. Hello, everyone. Niger's Prime Minister has ordered all schools around the capital, Niamey, closed until Monday and called for children between ages 2 and 15 to be vaccinated against meningitis, a potentially fatal disease. More than 900 cases of the disease have been diagnosed since January, resulting in 85 deaths. Prime Minister Briggy Rafini says the country needs more than 1 million doses of meningitis vaccines, but has only about half that many. He has made an international appeal to help make up the shortage. The meningitis virus attacks the lining surrounding the brain and spinal cord and could lead to deafness and severe brain damage. Malaria has been a leading cause of illness and death throughout history. As many as 3.3 billion people around the world live in areas at risk of malaria in 107 countries or territories. Although preventable and treatable, the World Health Organization estimates there are 198 million cases of malaria worldwide annually, killing 584,000 people yearly. Moreover, the most vulnerable and poorest in society face the most burden of the disease, with approximately 85% of malaria deaths are under the age of 5, and 90% of those deaths are in Africa. Now, joining us via Skype from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, for more on the subject is Dr. Fatoumata Nafo Traoré, Executive Director of the Rollback Malaria Partnership, RBM. Dr. Traoré, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, Dr. Traoré, the World Malaria Day is approaching on Saturday, April 25th. What is RBM's focus?
Our focus for the last 3 years have been really around a theme which is investing in malaria to defeat it. For the last 3 years, our plan was to accelerate the fight and to ensure that we're getting close to the Millennium Development Goals. So it has been a race since 2012, and we hope that today we can say tremendous progress has been done and that more lives have been saved.
Now, when we look at, when we hear about preventing malaria, there seems to be a big push with regards to the use of bed net, insecticide-treated bed nets, which in some cases works, according to some reports. Malaria is caused by mosquitoes. The United States was successful in eradicating malaria in the late 40s, early 50s, with an aggressive approach in environment. There was the spraying of DDTs inside homes. There are also drainage, removal of mosquito breeding sites, and so on and so forth. What about this approach in terms of Africa? Have we attempted to go aggressively in cleaning the environment and killing the mosquito before they can even reach the bed nets, for example?
Oh, thank you very much. For the last 10 years, 1 billion nets have been distributed, mainly in the African region, but yet, if you look at the coverage and bed net, it's still 50%, meaning that really half of those who need to get under bed net or to get in a protected houses are not yet really covered. In fact, if you look at the fight against malaria, it is a combination of different tools that would really make the fight successful. There is not that really focus on bed net alone. Indoor residual spraying is being done. Environmental management is being done. Bed net is really an additional tool. Probably this is where really a lot has been done to expand the coverage, to reduce contact between human being and the vector, but we are really talking about an integrated vector management, because bed net might be the best tool in some areas, in others it won't be. Yeah, you're right to say that in the Americas, the fight has been done by cleaning the environment. It is true that development alone will really reduce malaria and its impact. But today, really, one has the 4 million lives that have been saved, which is really a great success.
Unfortunately, we have to leave it there. Dr. Nafo Traore, thank you so much for joining us from Jeddah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the floor. Thank you.
And that was Dr. Fatoumata Nafo Traore. She is Executive Director of the Rollback Malaria Partnership. The WHO estimates that 3.4 billion people are at risk of malaria, with children under the age of 5 and pregnant women being the most vulnerable. As World Malaria Day approaches on Saturday, mortality rates are falling, and a new test, well into the last stage of trials, is having positive results in Kenya. We get more from Lenny Ruvaga in Nairobi.
Fatuma Chaunga, a mother of 2, lives in the coastal region of Likoni in Mombasa. 2 years ago, most of Chaunga's income from selling French fries and deep-fried buns was spent on hospital bills to treat malaria. Mombasa is a malaria-prone region. More than 60% of the population is at risk of malaria in Kenya, where almost 36,000 children die from the disease each year. A non-governmental organization called Population Services Kenya distributes insecticide-treated bed nets to pregnant mothers and mothers with children under 1 year old. Chaunga was one of the beneficiaries.
If I do not use the net, my children will get malaria, and I will have to go to the hospital or use herbal medicine. That is before I knew the MRDT. Now that I know of it, I see the importance of using the net so as to save on costs on going for treatment and use the little money I have to sustain my family.
The MRDT Chaunga mentions is the Malaria Rapid Diagnostic Test. In 2010, the World Health Organization recommended every suspected malaria case be confirmed by parasitological testing. PS Kenya provides the test to more than 4,000 public health facilities. The MRDT gives results in 20 minutes and costs $1, which is affordable even in rural communities. Dr. Dismas Osoro says it has helped reduce the abuse of antibiotics.
Because earlier people were just taking antimalarials without a test. So this time we have got the importance of it. We test and we dispense antimalarial. So the reckless use of antimalarial drugs has been in control.
The World Health Organization estimates there were 198 million cases of malaria in 2013, which led to 584,000 deaths worldwide, most of them in Africa, among children under the age of 5. That makes mosquito net distribution in malaria endemic regions crucial. But according to PS Kenya Regional Programs Coordinator James Makiri, the biggest challenge is changing mindsets.
People tend to sleep under nets during the rainy season, but during the dry season where it's hot, they don't sleep under net because it's too hot. So what we are trying to do is encourage people to sleep under net every time of the year.
For 30 years, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has collaborated with the Kenya Medical Research Institute to fight malaria. This collaboration is developing a vaccine being tested on 16,000 children. Professor Francis Kimani says the results have been promising, but it's only part of a multi-pronged effort.
We are coming up with newer vector control methods. We are coming up with newer drugs. We are monitoring the drugs that are in use to make sure that they work well and users use them well. And also we are coming up with new strategies to protect the host. And when you do all those things in an integrated fashion, we are hoping that at the end of the day we'll win against malaria.
Fatuma Chaunga says she hopes that more and more people will embrace mosquito nets and embrace modern methods of testing for malaria, further bringing down mortality rates that WHO says are at 47% globally and 54% in Africa. Lenny Ruvaga for VOA News, Nairobi, Kenya.
And that's our Africa Health Report for today. Back to you, Vincent.
Well, Lenore, thank you very much, and I'll be sure to look out for Lenore Madu's health reports every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. Well, Washington's National Museum of African Art has a major exhibit on loan from the Cosby Collection. Bill Cosby rose to fame on American television in the 1960s with the show I Spy. He also starred on the top-rated The Cosby Show in the 1980s. Until now, Mr. Cosby Collection of African American art had never been seen publicly. VOA's Caroline Turner has more.
Conversations, African and African American artworks and dialogue brings together major works of art from two world-class collections, the Museum and the Cosby Collection. Bill Cosby made his fortune as the first African American TV star from the 60s, who later starred in America's top-rated TV show in the 80s. His wife, Camille, says they never expected to see their collection at the Smithsonian.
We didn't collect to increase our assets because there weren't any real values placed on art by African Americans. No monetary value nor artistic value. But we collected because we really loved the pieces. We wanted to live with them. We have 5 children. And unbeknownst to us, those pieces, as well as the others that you will see out there in this museum, influence our children's thinking about themselves. To me, that is the biggest gift.
One of our daughters came home after taking an art history course, and she said, "We're doing African art, and half of the pictures in the book are in this house."
The Art on View offers multiple themes about the ways artists explore ideas about art in African and African American context. The Cosby Collection features early African American artists that painted in the style of European art. Joshua Johnston's painting of Mrs. Thomas Donovan and Eleanor, done in the late 1700s, is one of the oldest paintings in the collection. The spiritualities theme finds perfect expression in the painting The Thankful Poor by African American artist Henry Ossawa Tanner. Romare Bearden's images were often drawn from memories of his childhood in North Carolina, where he was fascinated by women. Cosby Collection curator David Driscoll explains this work by Walter Williams, Southern Roots.
The African American presence in this particular work, which really means that it is Africa in the United States, but it's upturned, the roots, the ancestry is upturned, and here you have the barbed wire, which of course is a symbol of tyranny, of enslavement and so forth, and other symbols where the young man is still searching for his identity. You have the butterfly, symbol of freedom, you have the birds in flight, which are made from actual feathers, and that of course is a symbol of freedom. But almost always in the back of so many of these compositions you'll have the brightness of the sun, the future. The future will be bright.
The universal language of music transcends race and culture. Jazz is one of Cosby's favorites. A Fantastic Sunset by Washington, D.C. artist Alma Woodsey Thomas creates a universal language of nature's beauty through vivid color and abstract form. Homage to Langston Hughes by Charles Weitz represents one of America's most noted black cultural icons whose poetry defined the spirit of the Harlem Renaissance. Crucifixion by Aaron Douglas makes a powerful statement. The Christ figure is one of the smallest, while the African who bears the cross is much more powerfully rendered. The domestic scene is represented by quilts, which trace the Cosby family history. The quilts were done by Camille Cosby's mother and grandmother, and the family used them for generations. The exhibition will be on view through January 2016 as the museum celebrates its 50th anniversary. Carolyn Turner, VOA News.
Well, after the Cosby Collection exhibit opened last November, it became overshadowed by a scandal in which Bill Cosby has been accused of sexually assaulting multiple women. Bill Cosby has denied the allegations. Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. Time to go Jurassic, a dino extravaganza after the break. We'll be right back.
Fire! Qui est annulée. C'est l'élection elle-même.
Yeah, serious, those guys.
Yeah, that's it.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Will it be Alice or Charlotte? James or Arthur? With Prince George's sibling on the way, betting shops in Britain are bursting with royal baby betting. Thousands of people are placing bets on the baby's name. So far, most people have been betting that the baby will be a girl, with the names Alice, Charlotte, and Elizabeth as the top choices. Favored names for a boy are James, Arthur, Henry, and Philip. If the baby is a girl, and they do call her Alice, it could cost bookmakers around £500 million. Well, next up, get ready to scream.
Every time we've unveiled a new attraction, attendance has spiked.
Well, Universal Pictures this week released a new trailer for the upcoming Dino reboot Jurassic World. This new sneak peek teases a terrifying new character, a gigantic genetically modified hybrid dinosaur larger than a T-Rex who hunts other dinosaurs and tourists for sport. Jurassic World is the latest film in the series that started with the 1993 blockbuster Jurassic Park. Jurassic World is scheduled for release on June the 12th, 2015. And that is what is trending today. Now, that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings today, Break Africa between 0300 and 0800 Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good night.
Welcome to Voice of America's News Words, where we teach you about words in the news.
When you hear the word encouraging in a news story, what does it mean? In this monthly jobs report, was the news good or bad?
Encouraging.
175,000 jobs created is an encouraging sign of improvement in our labor market.
Encouraging means to give hope that something good will happen. In this case, more jobs will lead to a better economy.
And if people encourage you to do something, it means they support you and want you to succeed. Now, when you hear the word encouraging, your English will be good enough to know what this news word means.